My garage was a mess, so I decided it was time to give my garage an upgrade. In part 1 of this video series, I'll add a fresh paint job to turn my garage into this. With the help of AI like Claude, I was able to figure out how much paint I'd need and roughly how much it would cost me. Using AI to help me remodel my garage made it simple to turn a garage to look like this and turn it into this. If you're ready to see how I transform my garage with the help of AI and some paint, then this is the video for you. Be sure to check out the description below for any future links to products and timestamps to skip around the video. Alright, so here we are in Claude, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go to this text box, and we're going to add a quick prompt just to have Claude help us figure out exactly how much paint we need and some other things for the project. So let's go ahead and do that now. So the prompt that I used in Claude says, I'm remodeling my garage and I need help figuring out how much paint I'll need. My garage is 19 feet by 20 feet and I'm planning on painting all 4 walls and the ceiling. I'll be using a base coat and a second coat on all 4 walls and the ceiling, and I'm planning on using the color Submarine Gray by Behr. How much paint in gallons will I need to complete this job, and how much will it cost me roughly? Alright, so up here we have that prompt we put in, and as you can see if we scroll down, these are the results that Claude gave us. So it says, good news, this is a pretty straightforward calculation. I need to make an assumption since you didn't mention her ceiling height. So they assume that we're using standard 8-foot height walls because I did not include that information. But as you can see, it says that if I let them know the actual height, they could recalculate it if it's different. So the nice thing about Claude and what they did here was they basically took the information I gave, the 19 feet by 20 feet, and they calculated the perimeter, the wall area, the ceiling area, and the total surface for 1 coat, and then the total with 2 coats, and that total surface area in square feet. So the nice thing about that is I don't have to do any of the calculations on my own. I just give it context, just like every other form of AI. The more context you give it, and the better information will output to you. Then as you can see right here, there is a note, and it does say that this does not subtract the amount of paint that we need for the garage door, any possible service doors or windows. And so it does say that if you're not painting the garage door itself, you could deduct roughly 120 to 160 square feet. So again, that's just going to depend on your specific garage door, but this is more information that Claude is giving us based upon the slight amount of information that we put in. And so now, if we look down at the amount of paint needed, we'll see that Behr's Premium Plus line is what we're using in this specific project. Now, this video is not sponsored by Behr. I'm not sponsored by Home Depot or Lowe's or any of those big box stores. This is just to give an example of some of the products that I'm using. So I chose the color Submarine Gray, and that is the product number right here, N470-7. That's the color that I liked for my garage. So as you see when I start painting, that's the color that we used. But again, this is not sponsored by anyone. This is just an example of what I use for my particular products. So it says Behr's Premium Plus line. It typically falls under a standard interior gallon. So it says it's rated for up to 400 square feet per gallon. So as you can see right here, when we look at the coverage rate and the gallons needed, it broke it down into 400 square feet, 300 square feet, and 250 square feet per gallon based upon the type of surface, so on and so forth. And then it gave us the number of gallons needed. So now I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. And as you can see, they give a practical recommendation. So they say buy 7 to 8 gallons or go with 2 5-gallon buckets. It comes in 10 gallons total. And so the nice thing about Claude is that it does give a cost estimate. So right here, as you can see, it says the Behr Premium Plus interior paint runs roughly 28 to 36 gallons at Home Depot. And then they give you, if you have 7 gallons at an average of $32 per gallon, comes out to about $224. You do the same thing with 8 gallons and the same thing with the 2 5-gallon buckets. So basically it says you can plan on roughly $220 to $300 for paint alone. And then also one thing that Claude can do is, it says it does not include primer if you're going to use that for their project. It does not include brushes, rollers, tape, or drop cloths. So they kind of give you an idea to budget for a ballpark of around $30 to $50 in supplies. So Claude is very good at figuring out some of the stuff that you'll need for your project. It's very good at finding the information for how much everything costs. And so this is an example of how we're using Claude AI as a tool for when we want to start doing our project. So the first thing we needed to do was get everything out of the garage. That included everything on the ground and everything up top in the racks. The next thing I had to do was take all of my tools off of the French cleat system that I installed on the walls originally. And as you can see, what I'm doing here is I'm just backing the screws out of the French cleat system that was mounted on the studs. The next thing I had to do was take everything off the walls, so I just went ahead and did that. As you can see, these are the holes in the drywall from where I mounted the French cleat system. So I'm using this color changing spackle to repair all the holes. And then once I do that, I'll go ahead and sand everything down, as you'll see later in the video. And that's how we went ahead and took care of all these holes. So the nice thing about this color changing spackle is, as you can see, it goes on blue. But the nice thing is, once it dries, it's white. So what I'm doing here is going ahead and using that spackle to patch all the holes. And then you'll see that I let that dry while I take care of the next set of tasks. As you can see, the original faceplates had a little bit of paint on them from the original people that painted the garage. So I went ahead and took all of those off the wall because I wanted to install new ones after painting. As you can see, a little bit of the paint in the drywall came up, so I just went ahead and peeled that off. And then I went ahead and sanded around there to take away that little lip that was left over from the original paint. Another thing that we had here was I took off the faceplate from the original outlet, and as you can see, the new ones I bought are just slightly smaller. So what I needed to do was get rid of that lip from around the original paint. So I grabbed a 220 grit sand block, and I went ahead and used the sanding block to knock down that little lip of paint so it'd be nice and flat when I add the new layers. Now, as you can see, I'm just masking everything off because we want to make sure we have nice lines around the door frames and on the cement flooring that goes underneath the drywall. And now what I'm doing is taking my orbital sander, and at this point the color changing spackle had all turned white, which means it was dry. So I'm just sanding down all the raised portions on that drywall, and I'm also sanding down the portion where you saw that I tested the colors on the wall. Go ahead and give the paint a little stir, and now I'm going to go ahead and pour it into the tray liner so we can get going with all the painting. One thing I like to do is paint around all the different outlets and light fixtures and everything. That just makes it a little easier so I can put the paint on the walls nice and easy. And now we let the painting begin. One thing to remember about painting is that the color of the paint may look different after the project is done than it did in the store. I originally chose a couple different colors, but I'm glad I tried different samples before buying all of the paint needed for this project. You can always buy samples of paint like this without spending too much money, so you can see what the colors look like before you start the project. Just to be sure, buy the color and finish that you prefer to see how it looks before you buy all of your paint. These are some of the finishes that you can buy. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but here's a bit of information, and be sure to do your own research so your project turns out exactly how you want. Once we're done painting both layers and all the paint is dried, we can go ahead and take off all the tape that we used around all the fixtures, all the door frames and everything like that. And then we can go ahead and put on all of the little light covers and all of the electrical outlet covers, and then we'll see how it looks. The first phase of remodeling my garage is complete, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. It's amazing how big of a difference a paint job can make in the garage, and using AI platforms like Claude definitely helps save time in figuring out how much paint and materials we would need to complete this job. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned and follow along as I continue remodeling my dream garage by adding different types of storage options and by redoing the floor with a custom designed option. As you can see, this garage remodel project is super easy and anybody can do it. Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts on how you want to remodel your dream garage.